Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1551B, and today's date is April 23rd, 2018, and the title of the episode is North Korea Complete, Phase 2, Operation Search and Destroy Clowns. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, Q has been dropping a lot of posts lately, and I want to refer to some of these as I go through the report. Q dropped post 1238, and this post was dropped on April 22nd. It said, no official product, Five Eyes, listen carefully, no evidence to support POTUS targeting, none. Do you understand the gravity of what's unfolding? Evil and corruption. She had to win at all costs. You know why? How do people vote for these people? Now, we can see from what he's been saying here is that right now there has been no evidence used to target Trump. Now, the Department of Justice turned over the electronic communication, a document which the FBI used to launch the original counterintelligence investigation against the Trump campaign. This is coming from House Intelligence Committee Chairman David Nunes. He says the EC, which is the electronic communication, reveals that no intelligence was used to launch the probe. Nunes also touched on the fact that Hillary Clinton confidant Sidney Blumenthal pushed anti-Trump memos to the Obama State Department written by Clinton hatchetman Cody Shearer and passed to Jonathan Winter, former U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary of State. We now know that there was no official intelligence that was used to start this investigation. We know that Sidney Blumenthal and others were pushing information into the State Department. Nunes also noted that no intelligence was shared with the U.S. from any of the other members of the Five Eyes Agreement, that being Canada, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and the U.S. Now, this is all relevant because the FBI says that the Trump investigation was kicked off after Australian diplomat Alexander Downer told the FBI that Trump campaign associate George Papadopoulos drunkenly admitted in a London pub that the Russians had dirt on Hillary Clinton. The New York Times reported last December that the Australian officials passed the information about Mr. Papadopoulos to their American counterparts, according to 4 current and former American and foreign officials with direct knowledge of the Australians' role. This was clearly not true according to the electronic communication, which states that no intelligence passed through Five Eyes official channels. Many have also raised the question over the fact that Alexander Downer, the source of the intelligence which launched the Trump investigation, is absolutely a friend of the Clintons. Now, according to the information provided by the Australian policeman turned investigative journalist Michael Smith, the Clinton Foundation received $88 million from Australian taxpayers between 2006 and 2014, reaching its peak in 2012 to 2013, which was coincidentally Australian Prime Minister's last year in office. And during the various Russia probes, congressional investigators were not told about Downer's connection to the Clinton Foundation. And the House Intel Committee is sitting here saying, wow, we continue to get new information. Every week it seems that sort of underscores the fact that the FBI hasn't been square with us. And there's major irregularities in the entire story. So the Mueller investigation and the original counterintelligence investigation launched against Donald Trump and his campaign and the complicit narrative shaping performed by the mainstream media appear to have been a highly coordinated effort to prevent Hillary Clinton from losing the White House. It's all coming out right now. The truth is making its way out. It doesn't matter if the corporate media is reporting on it right now, because eventually what's going to happen is they're going to have to report on it. Now, Trump came out and he tweeted something very interesting. Said, just heard the campaign was sued by the obstructionist Democrats. This can be good news in that we now can counter for the DNC server that they refused to give to the FBI. The Wasserman Schultz server and documents held by the Pakistani mystery man. and Clinton emails. So he's countersuing, we mentioned this before, and basically going after the server, the emails, what was on the laptop. And we need to go back to that mystery man, Imran Awan, who worked for Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Now, there are a couple things about this, and we need to review this a little bit. One, Imran worked for Debbie Wasserman Schultz since 2004 and had the passwords to her devices. Number two, during the 2016 election, the House's Office of Inspector General warned that Imran and his family were making unauthorized access to data. A September 30, 2016 presentation alleged Imran Awan and his family members were logging into servers of members who had previously fired him, funneling data off the network. And that evidence suggests steps are being taken to conceal their activity. Number three, the Awan group was left on the House computer network until February 2nd, 2017, days after Trump's inauguration. Now, the police then banned the Awan group from the network. The Committee on House Administration put out a statement saying House officials became aware of suspicious activity and alleged theft committed by certain House IT support staff. Since then, no official body has ever publicly provided any information about the case. Number four, shortly after the IG report came out in September 2016, the Caucus server, identified as prime evidence in the cybersecurity case, basically disappeared. Authorities took the disappearance as evidence tampering, and they can't find it. Number five, Wasserman Schultz declined to fire Imran despite knowing he was suspected of cybersecurity violations, even though she had just lost her job as DNC chair. Number six, after Imran was banned from the network, he left a laptop with the username RepDWS in a phone booth, along with a letter to prosecutors and a copy of his ID. Capitol Police found the laptop at midnight and seized it because they recognized Imran as a criminal suspect. Now, Debbie Wasserman Schultz still didn't fire Imran. Instead, she threatened Capitol Police Chief Matthew R. Verderosa with consequences if he didn't give it back, implying it was a member's laptop, and the police chief refused. She hired a lawyer to block the prosecutors from examining the laptop, then later said, "This was not my laptop. I've never seen the laptop." Imran's lawyer then said he very strongly believes the laptop cannot be examined because of attorney-client privilege. Imran left a note with the phrase, "near the backpack." Number seven, the FBI began surveilling the family but let Imran's wife leave the country. She flew to Pakistan with cardboard boxes of possessions. And FBI agents said in an affidavit they found $12,000 in cash but let her board anyway, writing they do not believe that she has any intention to return to the United States. Number eight, prosecutors arrested Imran at the airport after he began liquidating assets. Imran and his wife, they wired $300,000 to Pakistan after cashing out a federal retirement account and taking a second mortgage under allegedly false pretenses. Now, the FBI arrested Imran at the airport and was charged with bank fraud. Now, Democrats, they claim the case is therefore about bank fraud. It's not about anything else. But basically, he took the loan out and cashed out of everything because of other crimes. So that's not the only crime. And we can see right now that if we go back to what Trump has said, is that, yeah, he's going to, by countersuing, going to get all of this information, the servers, all the emails, the laptop, and everything else. Now, they might have wiped it clean by now, but let's see how smart these people are. So we can see that things are really heating up right now. Moving on to Q Post 1160, which was out on April 15th. Q mentioned something about Armenia. Do a Google search about Armenia. Is it trending yet? And Q also said something about Armenian clowns in Armenia. Now, in this post, there was a number 4 with brackets, and we've seen this number before. And if we go back to post 1136, we can see that there was a blackout, a gap between nights 4 and 5. And this was right before the bombing in Syria. Now, during this period of time, it looks like Trump might have flown to Armenia to meet with Assad and Putin. And this is the gap between nights 4 and 5. And they had a meeting inside of Armenia at a secure location. And they talked about certain things that were going to happen in Syria, Armenia, and other areas. And it's starting to look like that this was all set up, because if we go to post 1243, fast forward to April 23rd, which is today, we see, do you believe the world is awakening? Coincidence? And why is he saying this? Well, in Armenia, guess what? Thousands of people are on the streets, cheering and hugging each other, jumping up and down and honking their horns. Things happen so quickly, they said. I don't think the crowd was expecting this, but it is exactly what they wanted. We saw soldiers take to the streets. We saw priests, children, and their parents, young and old, coming out to show Armenia was really united in wanting these changes. The people of Armenia wanted a change. And what Q is saying is that people sticking together can change things. And the post went on to say, like North Korea, they have been freed. Assets on the ground, clowns being rounded up. And what they're saying Armenia was a launching pad into Syria, into Iran, and this is where the clowns were pushing their operations. So we can see that things are changing very, very quickly. Q reminds us in post 1241, reminder, Iran is next. And we can see right now that this is all moving in that direction. North Korea, mission complete. Armenia, clowns are removed. This was a jumping point into Iran for clowns, where they done their operations, where they coordinated, and it looks like they needed to get rid of that to make their move into Iran. And I do believe the next move is into Iran, just like Q is saying. Just like Q said, North Korea, there was going to be no war. They were going to denuclearize. There was going to be peace. We see Syria right now. The Syrian army are making huge gains against the Islamic State. We're seeing a huge number of weapons being found, and everything is changing there. Actually, there's a German public television news broadcaster, one of the largest, and he's on the ground with other journalists, and this public TV news broadcaster, Yuli Gak, interviewed multiple eyewitnesses on the ground, and they're all saying, yeah, we have no indication that there were chemical weapons used. We don't know of anyone being sick. We have no information on any of this. It seems like it was completely staged. And basically, the veteran reporter Yuli Gak, his story corresponds to British journalist Robert Fisk's investigation, and there are other reporters that are on the ground saying the same exact thing. Now, the OPCW, they finally made it into Duma. They've collected their first samples to send off to the Netherlands. They're collecting all this information. They're speaking to other individuals. They're even speaking to the young child that has been saying that this is a staged event. Nobody's sick. Nothing has happened here. And the whole thing's starting to fall apart. Now, Putin was talking to Macron, and Putin came out and told Macron that, this was a violation of international law when you struck Syria, just to let you know. And it seems like Putin right now is warning Macron that when all this information comes out, when there is no indication that there was a chemical attack in Syria, you violated international law. You didn't get approval from the UN. And guess what? This is going to be a huge problem. Now, we understand that the UK, they are under a lot of pressure because of many different things that are happening right now. The Steele dossier. We understand the Skripal poisoning, which was another false flag event. The bombing of Syria. And we can see right now the British spy agency GCHQ is out there saying that Russia is going to basically use a cyber attack against the UK. And they're not saying if, but when. And they're saying that the UK faces a serious cyber attack. Now, the head of the agency's cyber defense unit said their focus was on building resilience in the systems we care about the most. These are believed to be Britain's power and water supplies, internet and transport networks, health and services. Senior representatives from utility, transport, and internet firms, in addition to the NHS, are believed to have attended intelligence briefings at the National Cybersecurity Center on the specific methods being used by Russia to target Britain's national infrastructure, following the nerve agent attack on Sergei Skripal in Salisbury last month. So, think about what they're doing right now. They realize that they are cornered. They lied about all of this, the poisoning of Sergei Skripal, the bombing of Syria. They didn't have any evidence of any of this. They pointed it to Russia, and now they're saying that Russia is getting ready to cyber attack the UK. This is to cover up everything they lied about, and they need an event of all events. This is what the deep state is planning. And remember, the deep state is not just the US. The deep state is basically worldwide. And we see right now that it might start off with the UK, move into the US, and I believe this is why Q has been saying archive everything offline immediately, because I think they're expecting something very big where the internet might be shut down to wipe all of this out so there's no evidence whatsoever. And it looks like we are definitely moving in this direction. So be prepared for something to happen. I'm not saying the lights are going to go out every single place, but we might see the internet come down. We might see power in certain towns or cities go out to make it look really good. I believe in 2003, the eastern seaboard was brought down. The power structure was brought down there. The infrastructure was brought down to do a test to see if they had the ability to do it. And I think this was in preparation for something to be used later on. And it looks like the UK, maybe even other countries like France, the US, Australia, some of these countries might get hit. And I don't mean from Russia. I mean by the deep state internally, where they've already set it up to bring it down to say, oh, look, Russia's hitting all these countries, to try to get all these countries together to go fight Russia. Plus, in the meantime, while they have the systems down, they can go in and they can target and clean certain things on the net, try to wipe everything out they possibly can. Doesn't mean they're going to get everything. No, and I believe this is why Q has been saying offline everything immediately. So we keep the records, so we have the records. And I do believe that this is most likely going to start maybe in the UK or so, and then trickle maybe to the US and to other countries. And again, if they can't control the narrative, if the narrative gets away from them, and people are asking questions, and the OPCW says there's no chemical attack, and the evidence starts coming out even more so about the Skripal case, they're going to have no option whatsoever to start this cyber attack, which is going to be a false flag, which is going to be completely fake, phony, made up, but they're going to make it look as real as possible. And again, the corporate media is going to come out there and they're going to be broadcasting how bad it is. And it might start out slowly, where they say Russia cyber attacked a water treatment plant, or they hit the power infrastructure and brought down a little town. And then it will cascade from there to the financial institutions, to the internet, and so on and so forth, to make it look really, like it's real, it's really happening, and they're in all these systems. And we'll see it move towards Australia, the United States, and all of a sudden the internet might go down for a couple of days. The only thing you'll be able to hear and see, guess what, is the corporate media. And this is what they want. And of course, the internet will be brought up once again. Remember, there's a kill switch for the internet. So they can just throw the switch and shut it all down. They've been developing this for quite a while, and I believe that they've made preparations to make sure that they always had access to do this. And I believe once things get out of hand, they might actually throw this switch. Now, QAnon posted some other things here. Post 1220. Hello, Maggie. Trust funds. Deposits routed from EU. Why are deposits originally from EU being transferred into trust funds? Children. How do you get your talking points? Why do many DC journalists use and replace burner phones every week? How do you pass the new number out? Tweets are very important. Do you feel safe? Now, Q is talking about these journalists. They're bought and paid for through funds deposited into trust funds from overseas banks. And these same journalists are using secret Twitter accounts to communicate with each other, using burner phones they replace every week. And if we look, most of these banks are Rothschild-owned banks in the world, and all the banks involved with Clinton Global Initiative transactions. So basically, the Clintons use these overseas banks to launder their money, and then they buy off journalists back home. And they push the money through all of this. And right now, Trump and the Q team, they took out the Bank of Latvia recently, and they're going after other banks. So if we look at post 1221, who does Haberman follow? Think public and private Twitter accounts. They all have them. These people are stupid. We have it all. That means they have all the information. Now, it looks like Obama has a secret Twitter handle, and the handle is counter-Czechist, and it looks like from the conversation with Louise Mensch to counter-Czechist, it looks like most likely it could be Obama. And if you read through it, you can see that, yeah, maybe this is Obama, because it seems like in one part of the tweets, it actually says, yeah, it's me, when there was a picture of Obama on the tweet feed. So we can see that, once again, that Q is saying, listen, we have it all. We know who's who. You can't really hide from us anymore. And from what Q is saying, they're going after the deep state. North Korea has been basically wiped out of the deep state. They're moving into Armenia, which has just been completed. The next phase is Iran, where they're going into there. And you can see the messages coming out of Iran, where they seem very, very similar to North Korea. Oh, we're going to fire on Israel. We're going to destroy you. We're going to create a nuclear weapon. You're in our sights. I mean, it's the same exact type of messages. And again, Iran hasn't started a war in 200 years. And I'm saying started. And Iran right now is working with Russia, working with China, and it makes no sense that Trump is going to go in there and attack Iran and start a war. If you watch his actions and watch what he doesn't do this. He might say it to the corporate media to get them going along with that, but in the back end, his actions are completely different. So we can see we're going through very interesting times, and we're going to see there's going to be a lot more posts coming out from Q, and there's a lot more of information continually coming out. But one thing is for sure, the deep state, they are getting very, very nervous. We can see they're broadcasting out there that a false flag is headed our way, that something big will happen if they completely lose all control and the lies start to come out and people start to realize that they've been lying, and they're not going to wait. I believe they're going to say, hey, we need the event of all events. Let's do it. And all of a sudden, you're going to hear on the news a small cyber attack, then a larger one. They're going to point their finger right at Russia. They're not even going to take any time to investigate. They're just going to point their finger at Russia right after it happens, saying it was definitely them. And the ball will be rolling. Hopefully, the patriots and those fighting the deep state have the power to stop this, but we'll have to wait and see. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.